in making progress against domestic violence. Preventing domestic violence requires a collective effort, and I'm grateful to everyone here who was involved in the fight. And during this Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I urge you to continue with the good work that you do on a daily basis to end domestic violence, and know that it makes a difference in the city of Rochester. I also want to encourage all of us to reach out to our representatives about the Violence Against Women Act and make sure that it is renewed. I have here a certificate of mayoral recognition to honor the 20th anniversary of Delphi Rise program for men, in recognition of providing 20 years to the greater Rochester area with domestic violence prevention classes for men who have been charged or have a past history of domestic violence, adding a critical component of programs and services that aim to end domestic violence in our community. Please keep up the great work. We appreciate it.
Beautiful. Okay.
A couple of things. Where did I find all that? I found it by doing what we all do. I Googled it, which you couldn't have done. I couldn't have done in 1997 because Google was founded in 1998. Right. But so was the vacuum. I was just introduced as one of the founders. No, I said it. The office down the hall, where some very bright people came to me and said, "We have an idea." I went, huh? This was the first departure for Delphi from strictly the substance abuse line of treatment and prevention. But they convinced me it made sense. It didn't make sense to other people. Jennifer was coming down the hall one day looking really upset. I said, "What's wrong?" She had just gotten off the phone with, Vince Butler, who at the time has celebrated his 15th year doing battery intervention programs and was the recognized authority. When she called him to say, "Here's what we're thinking about," he went, "Everybody thinks they can do this." And I'm sorry that Vince isn't here today. We were hoping that he would be. There were others who said, "Oh, good, you're starting an anger management course." Wait a minute, you can't put battery intervention inside of a substance abuse program because it's not treatment. But this staff did their homework, they did their education, they went to Duluth, they went to the programs in New York on survivors, on perpetrators. They did what needed to be done and formed a solid program that I was very proud to have as part of Delphi.
So I'm just honored to have a couple of representatives. Allie's going to speak next, but we got Megan from Willow, and have at it there, Willow. Megan, thank you.
We have something very special here in Rochester, and I think the collaboration that you speak of and our agencies and so many others who are working on this incredibly important issue, we're very grateful for the partnership, and over many years we'll celebrate our 40th anniversary next year. 40 years at Willow. So the conversations Phyllis and Vince were having back then, the mother and the father of the movement, right?
Yeah.
Here in Rochester. And so when it was all starting, we were ahead of it nationally. We were pioneers in the movement across the entire country, and we still continue to be. In a lot of ways, a lot of our programs are really innovative, and I think one of those very special ways is the partnership that we have with our law enforcement partners, with other providers and agencies, really trying to tackle every barrier that survivors face and identify all of the issues that surround domestic violence and to come together to work on the solutions. And I think that's very unique and special. And we're grateful to our partners at the City of Rochester and at the county for the incredible support and work that we do together. Oftentimes we've heard, as we speak about domestic violence, I'm sure many of you have heard this too, the question, why doesn't she just leave? So we like to flip that and ask the question, why does he hit? And of course we know that women are also abusive partners and men are also victims, but the majority of the victims are women. And so speaking here today about the men's program, the question is, why does he hurt his partner? And so coming to terms with those answers and thinking about how we can support the men who are in these situations to better address the problem at the root of this. And so at Willow, we support survivors, and we are very grateful to have a partner that we can refer the abusers to when they're seeking support too. We've been doing this work for a long time, and I think now we are experiencing a culture shift where conversations are possible that weren't possible before. And part of that is the Me Too movement we're seeing on a national scale. Part of it is removing the stigma that survivors are facing. So the hashtag Why I Stayed, that's trending on Twitter a couple of years ago, and I think still is pretty active, has some really great information for why people choose not to leave or are afraid to leave. And I think we saw that play out in our community in a very big way. As Chief Van Bretero just explained too, the middle of this Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we had an active shooter crossing the city, terrorizing the community, shutting down schools. As a parent, I know we were all very afraid for the safety of our children, and for the entire community, our law enforcement response was incredible. We're so grateful for that, but unfortunately there were victims in that situation. And can you imagine if that relationship, why didn't she leave? Well, he probably threatened to kill her, and then he made good on his promise. So if we had been able to intervene with that abuser and to really get him to a place where he could stop that abusive behavior, we could have saved lives in that situation. We are literally saving lives every day because of our partnership. There's this situation that made it to the media and to all of our attention, but there are thousands more that we serve on a regular basis through the courts, through probation with our partnership with you. In our shelter, our 49 beds, we have 10 apartment units, we have our counseling center, we're at the hospital, we're at the courts, we're everywhere that people need us to be supporting survivors, and we're very grateful for you being there to kind of tackle the other side of it and to support and help people get to a better place where they're no longer abusive in their relationships. So grateful for that. We're seeing the conversation shifting at a younger level too. So we're in the schools, we're in every school district in Monroe County and in the colleges as well. And our prevention educators are noticing something different happening with the young people. So we talk about domestic violence, we talk about what a healthy relationship is, what an unhealthy relationship is, and we've all been there and we can break up and move on, and then what a dangerous relationship is. So that's our curriculum. We walk through that in the school setting, and the kids kind of interact and learn more about their own relationships and friendships. And at the end of the session, when we've identified the 22 types of abuse and the ways that you can be abusive in a relationship and what is okay and is not okay, at the end of the session, we usually have a couple people come up and say, you know, I'm experiencing this, my parent is experiencing this, I'm worried about my friend. That's been happening for years. What's new is that people are coming up and saying, hey, I'm doing that. Like I said that to my friend, or I'm being this way to my girlfriend or boyfriend, or I'm feeling really jealous and controlling, and they're coming forward and saying, I recognize my behavior on the list of abusive behaviors. How incredible is that? That we have kids coming forward and saying, wow, I see this power and control wheel, I see myself, and I'm gonna change that. So that's where we have the real opportunity to make some change in the community too. We can break the cycle by working with the youth and supporting our young people and understanding what healthy relationships are. So I'm grateful for many years of history and for our partnership going forward, and congratulations on 20 years.
Thanks.